We've not talked about this topic for a long time, but we had been submitted something similar, very similar actually, to this in Dragonflight Season 1. In that video, we had a Guardian Druid, just like we're going to have in this recording, entering a Mythic Plus dungeon with very little Mythic Plus score as the actual Guardian spec, but they had a lot of score as other specs. Think like they were qualified, maybe even overqualified for the dungeon on their character, but very unqualified for them on their spec. In that recording, this was like immediately a big problem for people. People were flaming actually the person who invited them to tank instead of the actual player, and it caused a bunch of stress for the tank, and then they ultimately end up start flaming the tank, and they just kind of disband the key on their own. At the time, I blamed the players who were flaming the tank preemptively before he even made a mistake, but it's kind of a hot topic. Like, is this a red flag for you guys? Because this is not even on my radar. I don't even think about this kind of thing. But just last week, we made a video on what my ultimate red flags are, and that's actually really ironic because in this run that we're going to show here today, we do have a 3 stack of players signing up to someone else's key. We'll give you a break on that one. We're not going to talk about that here today, but they invite a tank who is, I guess, mostly balanced druid. We try to look him up, and he's got most of his keys done as balance, but since he has done a few keys as tank, including the one we're going to show here today. So yeah, you guys tell me, do you think this is a red flag? Is it a red flag to invite somebody who is not a tank normally as a tank, even if they are qualified for the key? Is their IO transferable, I guess is the question. So I believe what we have is the paladin, priest, and balanced druid. The person who's recording this all together, and they're in a key of the fire mage, and the fire mage invited this guardian druid. Okay, so they actually inspect him when they realize that he does not have tank IO. We'll come back to that. We'll look at the radar IO in a bit, but let's look at the actual key first. The one thing I will say though is he has ringing ritual mud on, so I mean, I don't know, to me it looks like he's dedicated towards tanking. Honestly, bigger red flag is that we sit here for like 2.5 minutes before we finally start to key. This always makes me a little curious, like, what's going on here? Where's the group leader? What's he doing? I don't really know. Anyway, finally going to start the dungeon, and the first thing we get from the tank is instructions on when to bloodlust, which I think everybody knows at this point, but hey, yeah, communication, I guess it helps. So, and instead of pulling the 2 muscles, you know, we're only going to pull the 1. I love the pain suppression on the pull. Finally, somebody actually knows how to play the spec, but yeah, that's great. So we're going to go in here really, really bulky. This is going to be super easy mode. We are going to use the bloodlust spell. A little bit of a kind of a mess there, knocking them back, but like, yeah, absolutely no problems on this first pack whatsoever. Look at the tank's health. Like, I mean, he is sturdy. He's looking great. Like, there's no issues whatsoever. This is a Blood Death Knight. We're getting hammered already at this point. Yeah, still. Maybe this is part of the conversation too, by the way. Do you think the transferable IO concept, does it matter in a 2? Like, would you take somebody in a 2 who has no IO? Would you take somebody in a 5? Would you take somebody in a 10? Would you take somebody in a 13? Would you take somebody in a 20? Like, when does it cross a line for you? When does it start mattering? Now, pay attention because we accidentally aggro the previous pack. This is the second muscle that normally people pull. And then because we aggroed it kind of so slowly, like, this is the reason you don't want to do this, is because now Chewy's going to pat into us while we still have a muscle. And then while doing that, we also aggro that pack, and somehow the tank manages to die in the middle of that. Let's watch that unfold one more time. So you can see the muscle. It's like a different color. You see, like, we're kind of just almost kind of backpedaling into it. I'm not really sure. We're just kind of like constantly moving. I think maybe even the Rep Pally aggroes it with the Divine Storm like projection thing, but it's totally fine. At this point, you should have pulled this already. Like, we're in trouble here now because the patrol is coming. I don't know exactly how dangerous this is on a 13 nowadays, but I would not imagine fighting Chewy plus a muscle at any point in the season was a good idea. Maybe by now it is. I know they nerfed him, but so they're just gonna let him pat into us, and then somehow, you know, while he's gathering him, I guess we get a little too close. I think maybe he even aggroes this pack on his own. As he does it, just watch the health bars to the left of the character that is recording this. You're gonna see all of a sudden cracks in the armor. Yeah, he is gonna just get destroyed, like absolutely destroyed. There's a good amount of mechanics on this trash that do damage, but I can't see any of them actually occurring to him. It doesn't look like he has the dot anymore. It looks like it's fallen off. He does get 1 stack of it as he dies. Chewy does not seem to have disoriented him or anything yet, right? Not entirely sure how he dies. If anybody, I know you guys seem to get a better look at this than I do a lot of times, so feel free to let me know if you realize how he dies, but that's not why we're talking about it. We're talking about that right there. The guy pulls the pack, grabs the other pack, and dies within like 3 seconds of it aggroing, doesn't even get to him, and then like can't even be battle res. That's how quick this guy leaves. The guy takes the res and leaves before anybody can even notice. We are sub 2 minutes into a Cinderbrew on a 13, which now we know is actually very lenient. We have seen a lot of leniency in this dungeon. So I think it's maybe plausible he leaves because he did not want to aggro the pack. Maybe he's feeling pressured by the Rep Pally. I don't really know. I'm not really interested in that conversation today. I'm sure you guys will talk about it, but like, it's just not really on my radar. Anytime somebody leaves this early after this few mistakes, I'm totally against them. I don't care what the reason is. I'm not going to justify doing that. If you leave 2 minutes into a dungeon when you die as the tank, you're just not somebody who's defensible in my eyes. But anyway, let's look at more the actual character and talk about this, because I think this is very, very interesting, and this is what I really want your opinion on, especially if you guys are out there pugging as non-tanks, because I have heard a lot of this over the last, like, especially since the War Within launched, is that there's a shortage of tanks. It's hard to find good tanks, and sometimes you have to settle. Now, we saw in the footage that he was sub 670. This was actually recorded on the 25th of May, so after the boost. This guy has very limited Mythic track gear on, so he's got 4 total Mythic track pieces on, so like 670-ish character, signing up to a 13. Okay, now this is the interesting part. Okay, this is the run we were submitted. We were submitted 13 Cinderbrew Meadery like 5 days ago from this day of recording. 1 day ago, the 28th, so 3 days after this recording happened, he actually upgrades this key as a tank. 5 days ago, he does it as a 4. 4 days ago, he does it as an 11. Still the day before the recording. It was on May 25th, the recording. 4 days ago, now May 25th, the day of this recording. 5:28 Eastern, it says. The recording appears to be at 12:38, so I don't know if that's AM or PM. And as of today, still 2404 tank score. Done like a lot of dungeons on 10 and done 2 on 13 upgraded, 1 theater pain, and then hasn't done mother load at all. So if he even did that on 10, we'd be talking about a pretty sizable score. I think it's pretty transferable. Like, I think most of what IO is actually experience. But when we're talking about DPS to tank, maybe that's a different story. Obviously, I don't have any experience with that, but I don't know. It's a tough decision. Do you guys invite this guy? Do you guys gamble on him? Do you look at his IO at the tanking perspective? Do you think like, well, he's trying? I mean, like, you know, like I said, if you actually look at his character sheet, you will see he is trying. He tried to do lower keys and kind of build himself up. I'm not exactly sure why he's done so many Cinder Brews, but like, yeah, that seems to be something that he's working on. I know, I thought this was very interesting because of the way it all goes down. And of course, we can't let this conversation overshadow that the fact that the guy does die on the second pull of the dungeon. Really, the first, like, it's a pull and a half into the dungeon and then leaves 2 minutes into the dungeon. Totally indefensible, but yeah, still very interesting conversation, don't you think? Let me know what you guys think on this. Did you think this was a red flag? Did you predict this failing? Because I honestly don't think that this guy dies to a general lack of experience as a tank role. I don't really know what he dies to be honest. Like, I'm not sure what actually happens here. Love to hear your input on this. Stay tuned. We got a lot of videos coming this weekend. Thank you for watching. We will see you guys in the next one.